I think people just don't realize when they're reading or writing their own story, they always need a third party.
Yeah.
Because you're in that bubble and it's extremely hard to put yourself in an investor position because you're not.
When you're trying to get somebody excited about raising capital, things like that, is there anything more than just a good script, which is a lot? I agree. You know, a quality story is everything when it comes to the end result. But assuming that there may be a number of scripts to sift through and everything, what makes someone's project stand out as something that is maybe worth putting a bit more money into, when maybe you have 5 or 6 different good scripts to consider?
Well, first of all, yes, you have to, like, I think the best course of action with any script is to have it reviewed. You and I have had this conversation. We've had situations where the bones of it, as we call it, is really great,
Right.
but the writing of it is not the greatest, so I think, you really need to have somebody look at it. There's one of my friends, Corbin, he's amazing. I work with him a lot, with various different things, including film, but there's a lady, and I can't remember her name for the life of God now, but there's a person who's been in the film industry for many years, and she reviews scripts, and then she gives you all the information detailed of what needs to be done and how to fix it. And it's like $150. So I try and find cheap and cheerful ways for people to get things done. One of our friends, we did that for him, and he had taken that course of action, did very well. So they either give you 2 thumbs up, or they say you need to fix it in this way, and this way, and this way, which is really great. So that to me is number one. I know directors are going to fix it. I know they're going to change things, but really, unless you've got a really good script, if it's boring or people are like, nah, not that interested, then you're going to lose them.
Right.
Yeah. It's the genre too. We talked about that. Some people don't like certain genre. Some people are religious. They're not gonna go after anything that's raping and killing and all that kind of stuff. It's not gonna happen. And then you have to have a good deck too. Like I would say probably half, because the film industry is a little more creative. Other industries not so much, but I find that if your investor deck is not done properly, then investors find it very boring, or they pass, or the numbers are wrong, or you don't have enough information in there, or it's not, the story is not there, because really when you're creating an investor package, you need to create the storyline.
Right.
You have to sell the story to them in a 25 sort of, or 5-minute or 25-second overview, depending if it's a, if it's a one sheet, or if you're sending them the deck, whatever the case may be. So it needs to look very well done, because you're portraying on that deck who you are, right?
Yeah.
So, the creative needs to be there. If you're creative, you got to have the creative. And I've seen some unbelievably horrible investor decks coming from the film industry, and I'm going, guys, really? Like, you must have friends in the industry that could put together a nice, graphically a pleasing deck, and if you don't, then you need to pay us to do it, because you can't hand this to anybody. I wouldn't hand this to my dog. So like, there's many times I've had to redo people's decks, or I do strategy sessions where I feel that the bones are good, but it needs some, it needs some extra work, or it needs a kick me up, or it needs the story fixed. If there is no story, we need to create the story. We need to add maybe a few slides, or whatever the case may be, but it needs to be investor ready, and it needs to be, I call it stupid friendly, but I don't like to use the word stupid because I don't believe in that, but let's call it simple friendly.
Yeah.
It needs, it needs to have this appeal and it needs to be able to be, read very clearly, very distinctly, understanding most everything. And I always say, try not to have them ask too many questions, because if they do, then they get frustrated.
Right.
Investors have an attention span of a fish, like it's very small. So don't make it hard on them.
Yeah. And one of the things I think back to that it always evolves, but I had a really hard time with it in the beginning, and is the line between not having a deck and then I guess familiarizing yourself with it and not mistaking it for an initial public offering, let's say. And I'm being a bit facetious there when I say that, but because if you come out of the business world or just practical career jobs, things like that, when someone says, "Oh, you have an idea? Give me a business plan, give me a marketing plan." And I've been involved in that world, and sometimes those business plans they're like a book; they're pretty dense. And then when you're presenting a script, you kind of have this awareness that you don't want to bore people with, an inch thick book, because they're, if they're just getting familiar with your project.
Right.
So some people do too little, and they create a film poster maybe and a script, maybe a log line. That's it. But what would you say is the right balance between presenting a poster and a script and having a full scale business plan? Because a deck is more about grabbing attention with something a bit more substantial, but not, like you said, not you don't want to drown people in information.
Yeah. So what I've learned over the years with the investors, really is they want to know the bones of it. They want to get the idea of exactly what you're doing, right? They want the story. They want, you want to kind of wrench at their hearts. You want them to either cry or love or excite, or you need some emotion, right? They don't want to, it's not just about, oh, we're going to fund you for a film. It's like, oh my God, I really want to be a part of this. And that's what we specialize in at Federgreen Consulting, is we want you to lift off your seat and go, oh, wow, this is cool. I really want to do this. Right. Because then they're really excited and they want to invest. Right.
Yeah.
Not just, oh, well, here's another one. Well, okay, I get some credits in this. Like, it's boring for them. Right. Yeah. To me, a really well done deck, and if you want a poster is fine, because it gives that sort of feel, look and feel, I think is the best. I mean, handing a script to somebody, later on, but not in the beginning. Absolutely not. Number one. Number two, your intellectual property, you're handing all over the bloody place. And I keep trying to tell people, stop sending it to everybody, because they're going to steal it and they're going to replicate it, and then you're done. And I've had too many people come to me with that situation happening, where they're just handing it over without NDAs, without anything. And it's like, wow, like, why?
Yeah. And it's such a good point, because a lot of people, I think, assume that, they register it with the Writers Guild, or they get a copyright on it, and they think that saves them. But I've heard stories of people dealing with big name players, and I won't name any names, but who have seen a script, thought it was great, decided to make it, and then stolen it and just said, "What are you going to do about it? Because we're going to throw
all day long
$100,000 worth of lawyers your way, and we're going to drown you in paper, and you've got nothing to nothing to defend.
Nothing to stand on." Yeah, exactly. So why are you handing over your bloody script? Why? Create the story in the deck. Create your script in the deck. And create that look and feel and that story where they like, wow, this is pretty great. I'm very interested. Sign an NDA, then I'm going to send you the script. That's the way I do it.
Right. Yeah.
Because I don't hand them your intellectual property like it's nothing, like it's water, because they're going to take it and run with it.
Yeah.
And so some of my clients come to me already have, blurted it all over the universe. And, I've literally had people come back to me and my investors and say, I've already seen this. And I'm like, oh crap. So you've now shopped it too much and now it's no good for nothing.
Right. Yeah.
And good luck getting it made at all.
Yeah.
So people have a huge mistake, period, in the world of investing, in the world of finance, of shopping too much. Don't hand it over to your friends who are going to send a mass email to everybody and their dog. And then guess what's going to happen?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody and their dog's now going to have it. And you might as well close the doors.
Right. Yeah. So with the deck, then you think it's, I guess where I've kind of come to, and I'm always massaging these things, but they tend to include a list of a good breakdown of the story with maybe something that graphically kind of draws people in terms of what the project's about, maybe some things about where its potential markets are, and what the, I guess, broad strokes of the budget might be, who's involved and why it's worth that investment. And then you don't put a whole lot more, you maybe some marketing strategy stuff. If you have some interesting plugins, like you've got some exciting people you're working with and that this is their audience, but you don't want to overload it much more than that. It's maybe, I would say maximum 5-6 pages, or maybe.
No, I would do more. Oh no, I do more. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, I treat it like an investment. What's your mission? Well, my mission is, instead of a mission, it would be the story, right? So you just transpose, the sort of the business deck to the film deck. It's more the creative side, right? So your mission is to save the world. I don't know, where the story is, we're going to, John and Barb are going to save the world, and they're on an airplane and they're blah, 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 like it's sort of that, you're telling the story in a very short couple of sentence, like small paragraphs of what that story is about. Give them that synopsis, right?
Right. Oh, so you're considering the deck then as well, I guess the treatment, which can go, it can go larger than 5-6 pages, of course. And I guess what I was talking more just an initial pitch piece, but a deck you should be prepared to have, like you just suggested.
Yes.
All of those components, of course. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Like, I mean, if you want to just do a sort of a one pager, that's fine, or a 2-page or whatever, a treatment, then that's fine. But really, if you're going to different investors, especially nowadays, they're not going to be your traditional, film investors.
Right.
So they have no idea. So they're going to be looking, more for an investor sort of pitch, in a sense, right? So keep it kind of like that, do the mission, do the vision, your competitor analysis, like who, obviously in index I've seen, they've shown the sort of not competitors, but similar movies that have been made, show the volume of money that has been made through those films in the past, so that they know that this genre is very similar and this could be the potential ROI on that particular movie or TV show, whatever it is, and then, I don't do the SWOT analysis or all that other stuff. I mean, obviously not, that doesn't make sense, but I would definitely do the marketing piece. I would show the potential, cast that we're looking at and why, show the story.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's a simple piece of psychology, but I think a lot of people, and I include myself in this, it's always something you get in. It's that bubble again. You get back into that space where you're telling your story. You're excited about your story, and you just want someone to help you make this piece of work that you've done. But you have to psychologically flip and get into the seat of someone who is going to get excited about getting on your ride. And I think it's like if someone's an artist when it comes to roller coasters, you might like the loops and the the straightaways but if you don't put yourself in the seat of the person who's going to be entering the park and trying to join that ride, are you gonna entice them to do it? And because it's a different psychology. I mean, you're the person who's molded the beams and every little element means something to you, but an investor has to look at that big picture and go, wow, I just want to jump on board
Right.
Right.
Exactly. You need to see, you need to create the picture for them, you
Yeah.
know, and you can't assume that people assume.
Right.
You know, like when I looked at the a deck the other day, you know, I was like, why is this analogy here?
Mhm,
It makes
mhm.
no sense. He created this analogy in the deck that had nothing to do with music, and I'm going, what is this?
Right.
You know, and he's like, oh well, you know, my incubator accelerator had told me about this and thought it was a great analogy, and I went, no, it's not at all.
Yeah.
You're talking about couches and you're in the music industry. What?
Yeah.
None of this analogy makes any sense whatsoever. And even the way he presented it, I was like, why is this here, by the way?
Mhm.
You know, oh well, this is an analogy to this. I'm like, no, it's not. And he goes, oh yeah, I never realized that. I'm like, and now he doesn't want to fix anything because he's got a few investors interested. Well, yeah, probably because you were in front of them and you took them through the whole story. But if you were to present that to somebody without having a conversation with them,
Mhm.
you'd be like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know? And so I think people just don't realize when they're reading or writing their own story, they always need a third party.
Yeah.
Because you're in that bubble and it's extremely hard to put yourself in an investor position because you're not.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so yeah, when I tell people, you know, I share with them, look, you need to invest a little bit in your business. If you're going to start whatever business, film, you know, you're shining shoes, I don't care what you're doing.
Mhm.
You need to invest just a small amount, enough to get your business structured properly so that you don't fail.
Mhm. Mhm.
Otherwise, chances of failure could be a lot higher. So, you know, in finance, you know, or in investing, they want to see as low risk tolerance as possible. Even though they have that, you know, they're handing you the money knowing it's a risk.
Mhm. Mhm.
If you can make it as low risk as possible, then
Yeah.
it's so much more attractive to them and they feel more comfortable, and then they won't be annoyed with you or annoying you for the returns and why aren't you doing this and why aren't you doing that. And you know, if you're going after investors, my methodology of doing the bridge was the whole purpose of getting rid of investors completely,
Mhm. Mhm.
or keeping them on. If you want to keep them on, you can keep them on for 10 or 15%.